Elia's bloodied fingers clawed at the scorched earth as she spat out a curse. Damn cowards, leaving me here to rot. Her vision blurred, but the unmistakable hum of an alien craft grew louder, promising either death or salvation. The battle had been brutal. Elia's people, small but fierce warriors, had faced overwhelming odds against the tyrannical forces of General Zorthax. In the chaos, a plasma blast had thrown her to the ground, her body racked with pain. Her comrades, adhering to their brutal creed, deemed her unworthy of rescue. As consciousness slipped away, the rumble of engines grew nearer. She braced herself, ready to fight or die. The ship landed, and shadowy figures approached, their voices speaking an unfamiliar language. One figure knelt beside her, his touch gentle yet firm. "You're safe. We're here to help," a calm voice said. Leia blinked, trying to focus on the speaker's face, but darkness claimed her. When she woke, the sterile scent of a medical bay filled her nostrils. Blinding lights overhead made her squint. Panic surged through her veins, and she struggled to sit up, her body protesting with sharp, agonizing pains. Restraints held her down, but her movements drew the attention of a young human medic. "Hey, easy there," he said, his voice soothing. "You're hurt, but you're safe." Elia's eyes narrowed. "Why would you help an enemy?" The medic smiled gently. "You're not our enemy. You're a life that needs saving." She scoffed, her voice laced with bitterness. "My people would have left you to die." He met her gaze steadily. "We're not your people." The door slid open, and a tall man in a crisp uniform entered. "I'm Captain Reynolds," he introduced himself. "Welcome aboard the Stellar Hope." Elia's mistrust was palpable, but she sensed no immediate threat. "Elia," she muttered. Reynolds nodded. "We're on a peacekeeping mission. Found you on the battlefield. You were in pretty bad shape." Elia winced at the memory. "You should have left me." "We don't abandon the injured," Reynolds replied firmly. "Not our way." As days passed, Elia watched the crew. They were different. No harshness, no judgment. Alex, the young medic, spent hours by her side, tending to her wounds and talking about human values. "Empathy," he explained one day. "It's about understanding and caring for others." Elia snorted. "Sounds weak." Alex chuckled. "Maybe, but it's also strong in its own way." Their conversation stirred something unfamiliar in Elia. These humans, with their strange ways, were challenging everything she believed. One night, she confided in Alex. "My people, they see weakness as a death sentence." He looked at her with kind eyes. "Everyone deserves a chance, Elia." Her defenses slowly crumbled. These humans, with their odd compassion, were showing her a different kind of strength. She began to see her own people's cruelty in a new light. The Stellar Hope continued its mission, but for Elia, a more profound journey had begun. She was discovering that perhaps there was more to strength than she had ever imagined. Elia lay on the sterile bed, her green skin contrasting sharply with the white sheets. Her wounds were healing, but her spirit remained guarded. Every muscle tensed as Alex, the young medic, approached with a gentle demeanor that grated against her warrior instincts. "Here to poke at me again?" Elia snapped, her voice rough. Alex chuckled, unfazed. "Just making sure you're on the mend. We've made good progress, you know." "Progress? My people would call this weakness," Elia retorted, wincing as she shifted. "We see it differently," Alex said, checking the monitors. "We believe in helping each other, especially those in need." Elia narrowed her eyes. "And what do you get out of this?" "Some sense of superiority. Maybe just the satisfaction of knowing we did the right thing," Alex replied, meeting her gaze steadily. Days turned into weeks, and Elia watched the crew with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. She couldn't understand their camaraderie, their laughter. It was alien to her in more ways than one. Captain Reynolds often stopped by, always with a kind word, but it was Alex who spent the most time with her, sharing stories of Earth and its diverse cultures. One evening, as the ship sailed through the quiet void of space, Alex brought a small holo projector to Elia's quarters. "Thought you might like to see some of our history," he said, activating the device. Images of Earth's past wars and triumphs flickered before her eyes. She saw humans fighting, struggling, and most importantly, rebuilding. It was a concept she found hard to grasp. "Why show me this?" Elia asked, her voice softer than usual. "To show you that we faced our share of battles," Alex said, his tone earnest. "And we learned that helping each other makes us stronger." Elia fell silent, absorbing the unfamiliar notion. The idea of strength through unity was foreign to her, yet it stirred something deep within. One night, unable to sleep, Elia wandered to the observation deck. She found Alex there, staring out into the stars. "Can't sleep?" he asked without turning. "Too many thoughts," she admitted, joining him. "You humans, you're strange." Alex laughed softly. "Takes one to know one." Elia smirked, a rare expression for her. "Tell me more about your people, Alex. Why do you care so much?" Alex turned to face her, his eyes serious. "Because everyone deserves a chance, Elia, even those left behind." Her eyes met his, and for the first time, she felt a crack in her hardened exterior. "Maybe there's more to strength than I thought." As the days passed, Elia's recovery progressed, not just physically but emotionally. She began to see the humans as more than just rescuers. They were her friends, her new comrades. Their empathy, resilience, and unwavering support started to reshape her understanding of what it meant to be strong. By the time she was fully healed, Elia no longer scoffed at their ways. Instead, she found herself respecting them, even valuing the strange yet profound bond they shared. Elia paced the corridors of the human ship, her once unyielding demeanor softened by days among these strange beings. Their ways were puzzling yet intriguing. Unlike her own people, these humans spoke of peace, empathy, and cooperation. Elia found it difficult to grasp, yet she couldn't ignore the warmth it sparked in her hardened heart. During a briefing, Captain Reynolds called for her input on a diplomatic strategy. Elia hesitated, unused to her opinions being valued beyond the battlefield. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, her eyes meeting those of the crew. "We face a complex web of alliances and enmities," she began, her voice steady. "The key is understanding the underlying motivations. Fear often drives aggression. Show strength, but offer a path to peace." The crew exchanged glances, impressed by her insight. Captain Reynolds nodded thoughtfully. "Excellent point, Elia. How do we balance showing strength without provoking further conflict?" he asked. Elia thought for a moment, recalling battles fought and lives lost. "Demonstrate power, but couple it with gestures of goodwill. Acknowledge their fears, offer assurances, make them see peace as a viable option." Reynolds smiled. "That's exactly what we need. Thank you." In the days that followed, Elia became an integral part of the team. She worked closely with Alex, the young medic, whose optimism was infectious. Despite her initial resistance, Elia found herself sharing stories of her past, revealing pieces of the warrior culture she once revered. "Your people, they really leave the wounded behind?" Alex asked one evening as they watched the stars through the ship's viewport. Elia's jaw tightened. "Weakness is not tolerated. It's seen as a threat to the survival of the strong." Alex shook his head, his expression one of disbelief. "That's harsh, but you're here now, and you've proven you're anything but weak." Leah looked at him, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes. "You've taught me that strength can take many forms." As Elia integrated further with the crew, she discovered the humans were preparing for a critical negotiation. She was invited to observe the discussions, absorbing the nuances of diplomacy. A stark contrast to the brute force tactics of her people. One afternoon, While reviewing the tactical plans, Elia overheard a conversation that chilled her blood. General Zorthax's forces were planning a surprise attack to sabotage the peace talks. The thought of her people's ruthless determination brought a wave of dread. Torn between loyalty to her past and her newfound beliefs, Elia faced a profound dilemma. In a quiet moment, she confided in Alex. "I just found out my people plan to attack. I don't know what to do." Alex placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You have a choice, Elia. You can let your past define you, or you can help us prevent a disaster." Elia felt the weight of the decision bearing down on her. "Can't abandon my people, but I can't let them destroy everything we've worked for here." "Then fight for a new path," Alex urged. "Show them there's another way." The captain's voice broke through their conversation, calling Elia to the command center. She straightened, resolve hardening her features. "It's time to make a stand." Elia entered the command center, her mind racing with strategies and countermeasures. She detailed the impending threat, offering plans to intercept and neutralize the attack. Her insight and leadership began to shine through, earning the respect and trust of the crew. As they prepared for the confrontation, Elia knew she was at a crossroads. The warrior in her bristled at the betrayal of her own kind, but the new alliances she forged with the humans filled her with an unexpected hope. She was ready to fight, not just for survival, but for a future where strength meant protecting all, not just the few. Elia paced the narrow corridor outside the conference room, her mind a chaotic storm. Her people were planning an attack that could shatter the fragile peace the humans had worked so hard to achieve. She had to make a choice, one that would define her future and possibly save countless lives. She found Alex in the med bay, organizing supplies. The young medic looked up, sensing her turmoil. "What's wrong, Elia?" "My people are going to attack. They're determined to destroy the peace talks," Elia blurted out, her voice thick with frustration and fear. Alex's expression hardened. "We have to stop them. You know their tactics better than anyone. Will you help us?" Elia hesitated, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. "If I do this, I'm turning my back on everything I was raised to believe." "Sometimes, the right path isn't the easiest one," Alex said softly. "You have to decide what kind of future you want, not just for yourself, but for everyone." Elia clenched her fists, her nails biting into her palms. "Damn it, Alex, this isn't just about me. It's about my people, my honor." "And what about your honor now? What does it mean if you let innocent lives be lost?" Alex countered, his eyes piercing into hers with unwavering conviction. Elia took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. "You're right. I can't let this happen." They hurried to the bridge where Captain Reynolds and the senior officers were gathered. Elia explained the imminent threat and outlined a plan to intercept the attackers. "Time is short," Captain Reynolds said, nodding at Elia. "We need every advantage we can get. Elia, lead the interception team. Your insights are crucial." As they prepared for the mission, Elia felt a mix of fear and determination. She was about to fight against her own kind, but for a cause she now believed in. The team deployed to the perimeter where the attack was expected, setting up defenses and waiting in tense silence. The first wave of attackers arrived, and chaos erupted. Elia moved with precision, directing the human soldiers, her knowledge of her people's tactics proving invaluable. Explosions lit up the dark sky, the ground shaking beneath them. In the midst of the battle, Elia faced General Zorthax. His eyes burned with betrayal and rage. "You traitor," he spat. "You side with the weak. Side with those who seek a better future," Elia retorted, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Zorthax lunged at her, but Elia was ready. She deflected his blows with skill and precision, each movement a testament to her training and her newfound purpose. With a final, decisive strike, she disarmed him, leaving him at her mercy. "End it," Zorthax growled. Elia shook her head. No, it's over when we choose peace. She turned away, leaving him defeated and stunned. As the last of the attackers were repelled, Elia looked around at the human faces, worn but determined. She had made her choice. She had found her place. Back on the ship, Alex approached her, a soft smile on his lips. You did it. We did it, Elia corrected, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known before. Now, let's secure this peace. The stars outside the ship seemed brighter, the future a little more hopeful. Elia was ready for whatever came next. Elia crouched behind a jagged boulder, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. She could sense the impending danger, the familiar scent of war tainting the air. The humans had set up makeshift defenses, their determination mirroring her own newfound resolve. She knew her people's tactics intimately. It was time to use that knowledge against them. Ready? Alex whispered beside her, gripping his blaster tightly. His eyes reflected both fear and trust. Let's do this, Elia replied, her voice steady. She had chosen her side. The ground trembled as the enemy approached. General Zorthax's forces, fierce and unrelenting, came into view. Elia's heart pounded, but not from fear. This time, it was from resolve. Positions, Captain Reynolds barked. The crew moved with practiced precision, taking cover and aiming their weapons. Elia felt a surge of pride. These humans, who had shown her nothing but kindness, were now her allies. As the first wave of attackers charged, Elia leaped from her hiding spot. She moved with the agility and precision of a warrior, her movements a blur. She directed the humans' firepower, anticipating her people's strategies. Explosions lit the night, and the air filled with the acrid smell of burnt metal and ozone. Hold the line, Elia shouted, her voice carrying over the chaos. She saw General Zorthax in the distance, his imposing figure a dark silhouette against the flames. Their eyes met, and she saw the contempt in his gaze. Elia sprinted towards him, ducking and weaving through the battlefield. She knew this confrontation was inevitable. As she neared, Zorthax sneered, drawing his blade. You betray your own kind, he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. I fight for a better future. Elia shot back. For all of us. Their blades clashed, sparks flying. Elia felt the weight of her decision in every strike, every parry. She fought not just for survival, but for a new way of life. For a moment, it seemed as though Zorthax might overpower her, his rage fueling his strength. But Elia's determination was stronger. She found an opening and disarmed him, her blade at his throat. Yield, she commanded, her voice cold and unwavering. Zorthax's eyes burned with hatred, but he knew he was defeated. He spat at her feet, but made no move to continue the fight. With the enemy leader subdued, the tide of battle turned. The humans, bolstered by Elia's courage and leadership, drove back the attackers. The battlefield fell silent, save for the crackling of distant fires and the groans of the wounded. In the aftermath, Captain Reynolds approached Elia, his expression one of gratitude and respect. You've shown great courage, Elia, he said. We couldn't have done this without you. Elia nodded, exhaustion and relief washing over her. Thank you, Captain. I have learned what true strength means. As the crew tended to the wounded and began cleanup, Elia stood beside Alex, looking out at the stars. Ready for our next mission? Alex asked, smiling. Elia returned the smile, feeling a profound sense of belonging. Absolutely, she replied, her heart filled with hope and determination for the future.